What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out the brand new Marincess cards that just got revealed coming out of Chaos Impact. If you guys remember, Marincess are the anime archetype that are going to premiere in Rising Rampage. They belong to Aoi Zaizen, aka Blue Angel, aka Blue Girl, aka Blue Maiden. I think specifically, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in that order too. She also, well, she formerly played Trickstars. That's why I thought that this archetype would get a ton of cards, and Konami has revealed a bunch of cards. Now, when they were first revealed, I'm talking about the Rising Rampage Marincess cards, I thought that they were very impressive. They had an impermanence in the archetype, the Link monsters were incredible, and essentially the deck had a 0 card Link 3 because it just required your normal summon. You went into a Link 3 and you ended up with the Marincess Seahorse back in your hand. Some of these new cards are good, some of them, in my opinion, not so good. I think they're going in a little bit of a different direction that I'm not necessarily loving, but let's go ahead and break the cards down. The first one is Marincess Mandarin. It's a level 1 water cyberse monster, 100 attack and 100 defense, so maybe a 1-for-1 target. It's a hard once per turn on the effect. That effect is, if you control 2 or more Marincess monsters, and this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target 1 water link monster you control, special summon this card from your hand or graveyard to a zone that that monster points to, but banish it when it leaves the field. This is a good effect. This is basically an extender. This effect obviously works really well if you normal summon this card, because then if you link summon it away, it'll naturally go to your graveyard, and you will be able to just summon it from your graveyard for free. Kind of reminds me of like a lot of the cards that are in Salamangreats. Like, I just like the utility of this card, the fact that it can summon itself from your graveyard for essentially free and help you continue link summoning. So Marincess Mandarin, definitely a solid card. Next up is Marincess Crown Tail. This is a level 5 water cyberse effect monster, 600 attack and 2300 defense. You get hard once per turns on both of the effects. The first effect says, during damage calculation, when 2 monsters are battling, you can send 1 other Marincess monster from your hand to the graveyard. That is a cost, by the way. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do have the battle damage you would take from that battle. Effect number 2, at the start of the damage step, when your opponent's monster attacked, you can banish this card from your graveyard for the rest of this turn. You do not take any battle damage, or excuse me, you do not take any damage that is less than 1,000 times the combined link rating of Marincess link monsters in your graveyard. This card is a hot mess in my opinion. First off, why is it level 5? Why can't I just normal summon this? I get that I can special summon it, but number 1, it's a neg 1 to special summon. Number 2, it can only be summoned during the battle phase, which to me seems kind of weird, considering it's not like this card's going to do any damage by itself, only has 600 attack. Also, I just look at the second effect, the damage reduction effect, and I just think if you really want to not take damage from battle, even though this technically stops effect damage, just play battle traps. Like, there are how many battle traps in Yu-Gi-Oh? How many versions of Mirror Force do we have that we don't even play? I feel like this card is completely unnecessary, and it really just feels like the definition of a very gimmicky, inconsistent anime card. Like, don't play this card. Next up, we have an absolutely fantastic Marincess monster that will almost certainly be a 3 of in this deck. This is Marincess Blue Tongue. It's a level 4 water cyberse monster, 1500 attack, 1200 defense. It has a hard once per turn on both of the effects. The first effect says, if this card is normal / special summon, you can send 1 Marincess monster from your deck to your graveyard except another copy of itself. Effect number 2, if this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a water link monster, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and you can add 1 excavated Marincess card to your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Okay, this card is absolutely amazing. Number 1, it is pretty much an Armageddon Knight for the archetype. Not quite Salamangreat Gazelle because it cannot send spells and traps, but this is excellent for sending the Marincess Mandarin to the graveyard so that you can later summon Marincess Mandarin straight from your graveyard to one of your Marincess link monsters link points. So that already is a little bit of synergy. The second effect is excellent too. If you just summon this and link it away, you're basically getting Salamangreat Foxy's effect, and this deck does have good good spells and traps. I love their impermanence, which is awesome. The Marincess, I believe it's Marincess Tidal Wave. Marincess Wave, excuse me, just Marincess Wave. That card is good, and I really don't see any reason not to run 3 copies of this card. I feel like anytime you get a +1 off of this, when you link summon it away, it's going to be excellent, but the fact that it does set up some of your extenders is also really good for the archetype. Now we get to the new Marincess Link monsters, which I'm not particularly thrilled about because I feel like the ones from Rising Rampage were significantly better. Marincess Crystal Heart is your Link 2 Water Cyberse Link monster. 0 attack, points bottom left and bottom right, and requires 2 water monsters to summon. First effect, while this card is in the extra monster zone, it is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. Effect number 2, when an opponent's monster battles this card, it is unaffected by card effects except its own during the damage step only. Effect number 3, when this card or a Marincess monster this card points to is selected for an attack, you can send 1 Marincess monster from your hand to the graveyard. That's a cost. Your battling monster cannot be destroyed by this battle. Also, you do not take damage from this battle. This card feels like it does a whole lot of nothing. Yeah, it's unaffected by everything when it's in the extra monster zone. That seems really cute until you realize that it has 0 attack and it is almost certainly going to be the target of everything or all offense that your opponent is going to throw at you. I don't understand the whole protection. Like, I get it. It can protect itself and you don't take any battle damage, but like, just play battle traps. Like, I don't get why they're so obsessed with like protecting these monsters from battle at the cost of discarding cards. Like, just play battle traps. They actually kill stuff and they're just better. Next up is Marincess Wonderheart. This is your Link 4 Water Cyberse monster. 2400 attack. It has the Boil Load Link points, which are left, right, bottom, left, bottom, right. It requires 2+ water monsters to summon. First effect, once per damage calculation, when this card is battling a monster, you can special summon 1 Marincess monster equipped to this card, and if you do, this card cannot be destroyed by this battle. Also, you take no damage from this battle during the end phase. Equip the special summon Marincess monster to this card. Second effect, if this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Link 3 or lower Marincess monster from your graveyard. This is another card that really just feels like it doesn't do anything. It doesn't quite explain how to equip those Marincess links, but we'll get to that when we get to the field spell. But honestly, it just doesn't really feel like it does anything. It feels woefully underpowered. Okay, your opponent is really not going to attack this. Honestly, when we get to the field spell, you'll understand why your opponent's really not going to attack this. The only thing that I kind of like about this card is the fact that, like, if it's destroyed, it kind of replaces itself with another Link monster. But honestly, it's just another big Link monster that doesn't really feel like it does anything. Finally, we have another Marincess Link 1. This is Marincess Sea Angel. It is Water and Cyberse, of course, 1000 attack, points to the left. It requires 1 level 4 or lower Marincess monster to summon, and it's hard once per turn when it comes to summoning this little lady. Her effect says, if this card is Link summoned, you can add 1 Marincess spell card from your deck to your hand. This card's excellent. The reason I like this card is because it works with the old cards quite well. In fact, it works with the old Marincess kind of 0 card Link 3 play, the play where you'd start with Seahorse and then you'd go for Blue Slug and you just constantly be adding her to hand, special summoning her, etc, and you climb all the way to your Marincess Marbled Rock. Well, you can just summon this card in the process before you go for the Link 2. After you summon Blue Slug and you return your Seahorse to hand, special summon your Seahorse, then go into this card, get yourself a spell for free. Right now, Marincess only have a field spell, but to me, it kind of feels like the sky is the limit for this card, because if Marincess ever get any good draw cards or any, removal cards, this card will just become that much better. So right now, even if Marincess don't get any better spell cards, at least it just is kind of something that works with their natural combo, and it just becomes like another kind of easy +1 for them to integrate into the deck. Let's talk about that field spell. This is Marincess Battle Ocean. It is a field spell. First effect says Marincess monsters you control gain 200 attack, and also they gain 600 attack for each equipped Marincess equipped card. We'll get to that a little bit later. Effect number 2, monsters you control in the extra monster zone that were Link summoned using Marincess Crystal Heart as material are unaffected by your opponent's card effects. Effect 3, if you Link summon a Marincess Link monster to the extra monster zone, you can activate this effect. Choose up to 3 Marincess Link monsters with different names in your graveyard, equip them to that Link summon monster. Okay, so here's what all this means, and here's what I believe that Konami wants you to do. They want you to start off by summoning Marincess Sea Angel. That'll get you your Battle Ocean for free. Activate your Battle Ocean. Then you're going to have to climb into your Crystal Heart, the really bad Link 2 that doesn't do anything. From there, you probably want to go for Marbled Rock, the Marincess Link 3, and then ultimately climb to your Link 4, the Marincess Wonder Heart. At that point, you can bring back your Link 1, your Link 2, and your Link 3 as equip cards. Your Marincess Wonder Heart is going to gain 2,000 attack, and since it's in the extra monster zone, it'll be unaffected by all your opponent's card effects. And, well, don't get me wrong, that is quite powerful. I mean, basically, you have a Super Towers on field, a 4,400 attack monster that's unaffected by everything your opponent is going to do. I mean, do you feel like that's a reliable win condition in 2019? Keep in mind that you will need some natural extenders, because you will not be able to do that just off one normal summon. You'll have to hit Seahorse, or you'll have to hit some type of extender along the way. I mean, it seems okay. It just, man, it feels like you have to run a lot of cards in your extra deck. Like, I think Crystal Heart is terrible, but I mean, it does give you that, you know, Towers like win condition, I guess. If you feel like that's going to be reliable, then, you know, I guess it can be something that is quite good, because I think that some decks would actually struggle to deal with that. Lastly, we have our new Marincess Trap cards, neither of which is actually better than Marincess Wave, the infinite impermanence that the deck is getting a Rising Rampage. I digress. Marincess Snow is a normal trap card, hard once per turn. If a Marincess Link monster or Link monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one of those monsters, Link summon one Marincess Link monster from your extra deck with a lower Link rating than that monster, and as long as you control it, it is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. I like that part where the monster is like unaffected, but everything else is just, it just feels kind of too situational for me. I don't like kind of sitting around waiting for my cards to be destroyed to kind of have that activation condition. This card would have been significantly better if you could activate it from the hand, as you can with some of the other Marincess cards, because then if your opponent would have used like Solemn Strike or something, you would have been able to instantly kind of respond after the strike is resolved. Yeah, this card just, I don't know, just kind of feels like it's way too situational and conditional for my taste. Lastly, we have Marincess Cascade. This is a normal trap card. It says if you control a Link 3 or higher Marincess monster, you can activate this card from your hand. See, you can activate some of these Marincess cards from your hand. Like, why didn't the last card do that? Anyways, it says banish any number of Marincess Link monsters you control until your next standby phase. Then target one face-up monster on the field. That monster gains attack equal to the Link rating of the monster's banished to activate this effect times 300. This is another just like damage amplifier card. Another really mediocre kind of battle phase trick. I don't really understand. Like, I feel like you should just gain the attack of the Marincess monsters that were banished instead of having to do their Link rating. Like, honestly, cards like these just, they're not that good, man. I mean, I get it. It can be used during the battle phase, and I mean, that's okay. Maybe if this card was like instantly searchable, I would consider running like one copy of it. I get it. There's one monster that can potentially add it with the Foxy effect, and that being the Blue Tongue. But honestly, this card is just, the only good thing I like about it is the fact that it can kind of be activated from the hand, but gaining equivalent to Link ratings times 300 is just not enough. Like, you basically have to banish Link 4s at that point to even gain 1200 attacks, so that just really doesn't feel like it's doing it for me. Overall, I'm pretty conflicted with the new Marincess support, because I don't feel like it's better than what they started out with Rising Rampage. I feel like that support had insane promise, and while some of these cards are good, like Mandarin and Blue Tongue is excellent, I still feel like this deck, like, to me, it just feels like these combos are going to be so incredibly reliant on getting to Marincess Seahorse, and that kind of felt like it was what the deck was already going to kind of struggle with. So we'll see exactly where this goes, but you guys leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.